All right, third grade, are you guys ready for the last new lesson for this school year for math? Woohoo! So even though we're not able to finish chapter 8, we are going to only finish at halfway through. So 8.5 is our last new lesson. Then you're going to have your mid-chapter checkup and review for your test, which will be next week, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with your last lesson. So today we're talking about fractions on a number line. So you guys remember we talked about number lines like this, but instead of having regular numbers, we're going to be talking about fractions in a number line. Also, do you remember when we talked about this right here the other day, when there's the same number on top as the bottom? What is this called again? The top number and the bottom number? The top number is called the numerator, and the bottom number is called the denominator. Okay, so whenever you have the same number on the numerator and denominator, that is the same thing as being one whole. Okay, so if you have 4 pieces filled out of 4 pieces, that means the whole thing is filled out. So 4 to 4 means 1. So basically that's part of our lesson for today. So keep this in mind, it's very important. 4 to 4 is the same as 1. So let's go to unlock the problem. Billy's family is traveling from his house to his grandma's house. They stop at gas stations when they are 1/4 and 3/4 of the way there. How can he represent those distances on a number line? So you can use a number line to show fractions. The length from one whole number to the next whole number represents one whole. The line can be divided into any number of equal parts or lengths. So let's look at this math idea before we get into the activity. A point on a number line shows the end point of a length or distance from 0. A number or fraction can name the distance. So I know this just sounds like a bunch of confusion right now, but basically think of it like this. So if we had a regular number line like this, like we do on the board when we're in class, regular number line, right? We would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0 through 8 number line, right? This number line represents 0 to 8, and in each of these little lines, our little stops is a whole number. 0 to 1 is a whole number, 1 to 2 is a whole number. When we look at this line right here, this is basically this zoomed in. So this is basically all the little fractions that we have before we get to 1. So that's like right here. Before we get from 0 to 1, we have the fractions. We have 0/4, we have 1/4, we have 2/4, 3/4, and then, like we said, what's 4/4? That equals 1, which is right here. Okay, so think of this as this zoomed in. This little piece right here is this section right here. All right, that's what I want you to think of. So let's get into the activity. Locate fractions on the number line. So it's basically what I just told you in that little scrap piece of paper. We're going to be finding all of the fractions before we get to 4/4, which is 1. This is 0, this is 1. Remember I told you this is this zoomed in. So we're at 0. So the first fraction is 0/4. What comes after 0/4? What's another fourth of the fraction? Remember, this is the unit fraction. Remember, we talked about that last video as well. Each one of these is a unit fraction. We're adding 1/4 each time. So 0/4 plus 1/4 would be 1/4. And then we're adding another unit fraction. From 1/4, we are adding another fourth, which gives us 2/4. From 2/4, we are adding another unit fraction, which is another 1/4, which would give us 3/4. We add one more unit fraction, which is adding 1/4. 3/4 plus 1/4 would give us 4/4, which gives us 1. Okay, so we have 1/4 added each time. That's giving us another fraction on the number line till we get to 4/4, which is the same as 1 whole. So step 1 says divide the line into 4 equal lengths or fourths, which is what we did. See? At the end of each strip, draw a mark on the line. So here we forgot to do that. We add a little line, and there we see that's 0 to 1, and these are the little fractions in between each hole. Okay? And this is just explaining the rest of the steps. Let's go on to the back. Let's do this next example. Complete the number line to name the point. So it tells you can use colored pencils, but we're not going to do that. Write the fraction that names the point on the number line. Think, this number line is divided into 6 equal lengths or sixths. The length of one equal part is what? Remember, I told you each one of these is one equal part that we're adding to the fraction each time. So what's the unit fraction which is one equal part? Well, it's right here. It's 1/6. That's what we're adding each time. So 0.6 plus 1/6 gives us 1/6. 1/6 plus 1/6 give us 2/6. 1/6 plus 2/6 give us 3/6. And 3/6 plus 1/6 gives us 4/6. Then plus another 6 gives us what? 5/6. And you see that's where our marker stops, even though it shows us because we can still keep going, but that is what where it's asking us to stop. So let's see here what the next direction is. Shade the fraction strips to show the location of the point. So the point is right here, so I need to shade right up until then. So let's go ahead and shade real quick. All right, so I'm all shaded in from my starting point to the stopping point, which is that point right there. So we did that. Now let's look at what the blank says. There are blank out of blank equal lengths shaded. The shaded length shows 5/6. So how many equal points do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? That's what we have from 0.6 all the way to 6/6. And how many are shaded in? Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of 6 equal lengths are shaded. So the shaded length shows 5/6. So blank names the point. What's the name of the point? 5/6. So let's go ahead and do share and show all together before you guys go to on your own. Complete the number line. Draw a point to show 2/3. So when we get to 2/3, we're going to stop and put a point there, okay? Then we'll keep going. So 0 what? We're adding one unit fraction of third each time. So 0 over what? What's our denominator? You should have said 3. We're adding a one unit fraction 1/3 to this, which gives us 1/3. Then we're adding another unit fraction, we get 2/3. So you should have said, it asked us to draw a point at 2/3. So let's go ahead and do that. A point right here. Now let's keep going. Add another unit fraction, 1/3 to 2/3, which gives us 3/3, which is exactly right because it should be lined up with 1. Because remember what we said, the same numerator and denominator is equal to 1 whole. Wonderful. Now let's go to the next one. Write the fraction that names the point. So point A, which is right here. What fraction should be right here? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Look at the fractions that are before it so you can get a hint. All right, point A should be, we have 0/8, 1/8, 2/8. It should be 3/8. Very good. Now let's look at point B. Give you a second to think about what point B is. Well, based on what we have, we stopped at 3/8. We have 4/8, 5/8. So B should be 6/8. Awesome. And lastly, we have point C. Give you a second to think about that. You should have said point C is 7/8. Very good. And then we have 8/8 after that, which lines up because it's right at 1. So that's it. All you guys got to do is read a number line with fractions instead of with regular numbers, which the regular numbers are there still. But remember, this is like zoomed in, so we're seeing it real up close, okay? Now let's go over what your assignment is for today. So your assignment will be to do on your own numbers 5 through 10, which is very, very similar to what we just did on Share and Show. And you're also going to do on the back parts of number 11. I'm going to have the parts that you're going to do, and that's it, okay? Also, number 12, okay? So this will all be on OneNote. So go ahead and start working on that, guys. Like I said, this is your last new assignment for this school year. And then we're going to have your review for your test, all right? So go ahead and finish this up. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know.